Fantasy season is here. The NFL has begun, and it is time, everybody. The Fantasy Couriers are proud to be partnered with Underdog Fantasy, the most amazing, greatest daily fantasy sports site. You might have done all their best ball games during the offseason. I have friends that did dozens and dozens and dozens and are still talking about them. Now we're in season, and it is time for Pick'em. You can pick player stats. You can pick highs or lows of various stats within a game. It is an exciting time. You can stack them. There are specials throughout the season that will make the game even more exciting. And to make things better, Underdog Fantasy has an exclusive offer for new customers. Claim your mystery pickup and get a 100% deposit match up to $100 now by signing up on Underdog using the code COURIERS. Once you make that first deposit, head to the Pick'em lobby and find out which player special you get. If you're already a customer, share the code COURIERS to support our amazing podcast so that we can continue to grow with Underdog and have a blast in season with you. Now, on to the show.
What is happening, fellow fantasy GMs? I am DJ Wang. He is the bearded one, DJ Dub. And with our powers combined, we are the Fantasy Couriers.
JJ Wang, it is week 2 in the NFL. I don't know what to think anymore. The games look good or they look sloppy. I can't figure it out.
Well, I mean, I don't think you ever really figured it out. Well, the thing is, you're able to watch so much more football now than you have in the past. Like back in the day, you only got to watch, 2 or 3 games a day, maybe.
Games, yeah.
Now you're allowed to watch every game, and you notice that half the games, are bogus. As it was back in the day, you really didn't get notice that. Like we're able to watch every football game now. So we get to watch the bad games, along with the good games. But I think there's just as much good as there always been. There's just more of it.
It was intriguing that the 4:00 games ended up being closer than on paper. I was like, man, 4:00 afternoon is going to be a total wash of garbage. The Giants pulled that massive comeback. The Commanders turned around on the Broncos. All the games, none of them were blowouts. I thought the 49ers would just obliterate the Rams. I mean,
yeah, like I said last week, the Rams and the 49ers know each other so well. It's hard for them teams to blow each other out.
I mean, they lost. I mean, it's just like, yeah, some of the early games, but I'm sure I'm not going to waste any time. We're just going to get right into it. You're going to talk about all this, and I don't want to do any spoilers. And everybody, great news for you all. We do record before the Sunday night game. So this week, I guess we won't talk about he who will not be named. I'll talk about him on Thursday or be crying and getting ready for next week. So without further ado.
Pleasure.
And pain. Told you you'd laugh. That was fun. That was my wife on vocals there.
Nice.
I was like, honey, come over here. He was sitting in the room while I was like, honey, I want to do this drop. I was like, come over here. She's like, what? I said, say pleasure. She goes, pleasure. I said, no. We want it to sound like like pleasure. She's like, what? Okay. That was like our third take.
Kind of weird. I'm not going to lie. Kind of weird.
It was fun. I was looking at some of the old drops. They're fun too. So anyway, let's get into this. There's a lot of there's one player that's my pleasure right now. Just
All right, yeah. There's a lot. It's hard to we can't go through all of them, but I'll just go through my favorite guys. That's pretty much how this works. Just talk about the guys that I want to talk about.
The radio, right? Where are the microphones?
Yeah. So first off, since we're going to talk about pleasure, and the game is currently going on right now. I'm going to talk about Sam Howell here. 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, this is a good fantasy day for a guy who's only making his 3rd start, correct? Are you a Sam Howell fan at all?
I'm rooting for Sam Howell. I have no – Dan Snyder doesn't own the Manders, so I can root for the Manders. I'm sort of indifferent to the team. I did need him to not be throwing passes to Terry McLaurin. That was really a kick in the butt for me because – At some point in the show, I'll list you this team I have that's going to be 0-2. It's disgusting. Like it's hurtful, but I do like what I'm seeing. It'll be interesting to see what happens when he's not playing the Broncos and the Cardinals and the Giants and any other garbage teams. Like when he plays a real team, that'll be our test. But I like what I'm seeing, and they might have found something here. I hope so.
Yeah, and to
Really.
go along with that, since we're with the Commander to try something different. If we're about a team, I just keep with all the players. Brian Robinson had a stellar day today. He had 86 yards, 2 touchdowns. He chipped in with 42 receiving yards. I mean, if this guy's getting the full workload and this offense is any kind of like successful, Brian Robinson can maybe be in for a big season as for fantasy. Correct?
Yeah, that's I do want to say Liar of the Year goes to Ron Rivera for the second year in a row for saying Antonio Gibson's going to be something. I don't know where he got that from. If he's just like, hey, I want to see if I can be Bill Belichick. I mean, Gibson, I think he had that catch. I'm trying to pull up the.
Yeah,
He
he had
did
that
have
130
that one
yard
really
catch, I
good catch,
believe.
36-yard catch. Yeah, but otherwise, yeah, Robinson's who we thought he was, who he loved, and I just fell for it. I traded away my only Robinson share because I fell for trusting that liar in DC.
Yeah, it doesn't. He's not big plays, but I mean, it looks like he's going to get the bulk of the touches. And
Hmm.
all right, I'm going to go to Seattle here. I'm going to go with Geno Smith. I'm not happy to say this, but it's a nice bounce back week. He had 328, 2 touchdowns. And this is kind of the Geno that we were seeing beginning of the year last year. As far as fantasy goes, are you afraid that Geno is just going to be up and down constantly, or do you think he'll find his consistency eventually?
I don't know. Geno Smith is that he's that hold your nose and score a lot of points guy. I am proud that somebody this morning on the morning cast asked for Geno Smith or Deshaun Watson. And I was saying Watson, I'm like, wait a second, let me look at my rankings. I got Geno Smith significantly higher than Watson. I moved Watson up a smidge because just the Monday night game, but I said Geno. So I was like, yes. I mean, I do have Geno like 16, so it wasn't spectacular, but I how did they win that game is what I want to know. And then he was without DK for a bit, and then Tyler Lockett. I told people not to start Tyler Lockett. Tyler
But
Lockett.
yeah,
I said he would show me. I said the moment I say that, he's going to murder me. So
But
yeah.
yeah, this is what Tyler Lockett does. I mean, he's been doing it his whole career. It's so hard to predict.
Hey, cheers
It's
to
a,
he's made a good career of it. As much as
oh,
he's
he's
murdered
made
me,
it. He's
I've
made
never
an
been a
excellent.
Lockett guy, but so good.
He's made an excellent career, like real life and in fantasy. He's been a
Yeah.
value just all the way around. All right, we'll go out to Houston. It's pretty. I feel like a pretty successful day down there in Houston. We have C.J. Stroud looking like a decent quarterback today at 384-2. And you called it last week to avoid Nico Collins, 146 yards and a touchdown. Damian Pierce doesn't look all that great, but the passing game looks like there might be something there. I didn't get to watch a lot of football today, so I'm relying on you to tell me how it went.
I
But it looked like the passing game was working down there in Houston.
I got 2 out of 3 of those guys right. Man, I was so excited to see Nico step it up. I've been on the Nico train for a while since he came in. I had Nico, I was like CJ Stroud targeted him last week, and I told people on the I think Thursday and on Sunday today I was saying follow the targets. He was targeted, and the only person I didn't do that with, we'll talk about later, but he was targeted galore last week. So I'm like, dude, I'm going to throw him in there, and boy, was I rewarded. Tank Dell also is looking like he's going to be not. He's not going to be. I think Nico might end up being the one on that team if they keep playing the way they're playing. He could emerge there for a guy who wasn't much coming into the league. Like his college profile wasn't. He was just big, but he didn't do a lot at Michigan really. Like he was kind of like a Ramondre. Like Ramondre came in with very little college per se, but dude, they looked great. I thought they would lose. The way that, but then that concussion to Richardson changed the game, and they took over at that point.
Yeah, I mean, so good for them. They still got John Mechie. I'm still interested in seeing whatever if Mechie can ever make
Talent's
something
amazing, yeah.
because he was a great in college. So I'd like to see if I can transfer over. And I'm just going to switch to Thursday night. We'll talk about both teams here. It was a great fantasy game. But we'll start out with Kirk Cousins. It was kind of rough at the beginning. But once they started having to throw a lot, Kirk Cousins just did what Kirk Cousins does. I mean, 364 yards and 4 touchdowns. Of course, Jefferson came through, with his 11
Except for
catches,
touchdown.
a lot of yards. But Kirk Cousins, are we just on track for another? ho hum top 10 fantasy season for Kirk Cousins.
The thing is, I don't think he's so hum. I think it's just because everybody goes, "Oh, it's Kirk Cousins, the good,
Yeah.
happy church boy who plays in Minnesota. No one cares." Could Kirk Cousins? Here's the real question: could Kirk Cousins end the year a top five fan? I mean, right now he's there. Could
I
he
mean,
end? I mean, Justin Fields fell off a cliff. He's dead.
fell off a cliff. Off
We'll
a
get
cliff.
there. But Kirk Cousins, that means someone's got to swoop up. I mean, you got Cousins, you got my boy who we won't mention, but those guys are coming up there. Somebody's going to supplant that space where we thought Fields would be. And hey, you throw for 4 touchdowns a week, you got a week ahead of two other people. It doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And of course, I mean, Jordan Addison, he had that long touchdown. He just got
Mm-hmm.
Casey Osborne was making appearances. The only issue, actually, it's a
Oh,
positive. The running game there in Minnesota is
as we
dreadful.
said, did we say this? We did
Yeah.
call this. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's good. This makes the passing game just that much better. So, I'm just looking for it. I recently acquired Kirk Cousins, so I'm really excited about how
I
that's
need.
going to turn out.
Oh, heavens. Oh, I'm excited. Last minute, I zagged and I did it. I did it. I played this guy in a league. I'm so excited after we bashed him last Thursday
I don't know. What am I supposed to bring him up now?
on the Eagles.
Yeah, you called you. Yeah, probably eventually, but you threw it in there before I got even saying. But we're gonna go with switching over to the Eagles. We'll start with running back. Kenny Gainwell got injured, so we thought maybe Rashad Penny might get some extra work, but it all ended up going to DeAndre Swift, which was absolutely crazy. Not much about his way of receiving, which is where we thought he would get his work, but the 175 rushing yards and a touchdown, and he was just
Killing
taking
it.
yards at a time, looking fantastic. Like this is like the DeAndre Swift we've been waiting to see. But I mean, Gainwell comes back. I mean, are they going to go to like the timeshare just because they like Gainwell, or they just why not just stick with DeAndre Swift, right?
Because they're not stupid. I just gotta add something. But yeah, they're
Right. And by the way, Denver just had a Hail Mary
I'm watching it.
touchdown.
So we're recording at the end of the Commanders Denver game, and we just saw the Hail Mary occur. And I got to add that to the surefire ways to a touchdowns. That's what I was gonna do. So spoiler alert coming up.
That's insane.
Recording early so I can
But
watch my Dolphins game. But yeah, no, I hope they don't try to get cute. They got something here. I mean, they got the bargain when that's what we thought, all of us thought that they would get when they got Swift. We thought Gainwell's dead, Rashad Penny. So what? They paid him too much. It won't matter. And then next thing you know, they don't play Swift. And now Swift, I mean, they're claiming they're not going to do it, but now Swift is just murdering it. I yeah.
yeah, I mean, I feel like you gotta trust him. I mean, I don't know if can you say he's earned his trust, but I feel like in that offense with that backfield, I mean, I feel like you gotta pretty much just ride him out until he shows something different. But switching over to wide receiver, we got AJ Brown. They got AJ Brown, who was the unquestioned number one wide receiver last year, but coming in now, we got Devontae Smith taking a big turn. And when they're throwing at Devontae Smith, this guy's just running down the field wide open. He looks just like a flash out there. Is Devontae? I said this from the beginning of the year. Devontae Smith is my boy. Is Devontae Smith the new number one in Philadelphia?
Was that your bold prediction or was that didn't someone throw that or was that another show? Was that our show? Or
I,
was
I
someone
mean,
else?
I've said that. I mean, I've been
Yeah.
saying that Devonta Smith will be the number one receiver in Philly, but I mean, I think it might be true.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. Right now, I mean,
Uh,
we could paint it at the same time. AJ Brown, blah, he kicked my butt. I traded some good assets to get him in a league, and it's been a big kick
yeah,
in the butt this year.
and it looks like he's pulling the old Stephon Diggs, getting rowdy with his quarterback there on the sideline. That doesn't help anybody's case a whole lot. Speaking of Stephon Diggs switching over to Buffalo, it's the same kind of running back as DeAndre Swift. James Cook finally had a breakout game,
Sure did
123,
against me. Ugh.
123 yards rushing, 36 yards receiving. This is more than James Cook that we were hoping for. Is this possible that he stays this way? I mean, with like I said, Josh Allen had a better game. As long as that offense is flowing, this can be like a normal thing, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's what they've been looking for. I mean, the only downside for him was that he got poached twice on touchdowns. I mean, if he'd got imagine take that day give him those 2 touchdowns. Like the Latavius Murray one was a little longer, so he might not get that, but just that Harris one. I mean, your
I
boy
mean
Daniel
that was
coached.
the fear going into this
We knew that
was
would happen.
the short yardage touchdowns. I mean, you got Josh Allen, Damian Pierce, Latavius Murray. They were kind of vulture those short yardage touchdowns. But that was a fear. But if he can get this kind of work, yeah, I'm pretty confident. So I'm going to switch over to Atlanta. They had a trio of offensive weapons that kind of went off today. Desmond Ritter looked terrible last year or last week. This this week at 237 with a touchdown, and they had 39 rushing yards with another rushing touchdown. If this is the Desmond Ritter that we can see every week, I feel like this might be able to be something with this offense.
I, I don't know. Like the Falcons are 2-0. He's securing his job. He didn't look great. I mean, he still looks like Desmond Ritter when you watch bits and pieces of the game. But on the stat line and coming back through, like I'm on many threads like, man, Ritter looks terrible, and then he scores a touchdown running. Man, Ritter looks terrible. He finally just has to throw to Drake London because that's what you do. Because Drake London is so good. And then Bijan, but yeah,
Yep.
he's gonna be like what I thought Richardson's gonna be until they stop running or they're replaced. You might end up having to play them because they can run.
Absolutely. Speaking of London, he had the 6 for 67 with a touchdown. It's finally what we want to see. I'm not sure how if Kyle Pitts was involved much in the offense. Uh,
He's getting looks.
Tyler Algier took a big hit with Bijan getting 124 rushing yards, but we all kind of seen that happen. Still think Algier can be effective not on an every game basis, but I still think he's going to have those games where he'll get a touchdown in the long run, maybe that or acquire some extra yards. But I think the offensive weapon as far as fantasy goes in Atlanta, I think is definitely on the upswing.
Yeah, I mean the targets you were asking, the targets amongst receivers was fairly square. 7 for Drake, 6 for Hollins, 5 for Bijan, 6 for Johnny Smith. How about that? And 5 for Pitts. Pitts just had 2 catches because I think Pitts is going to be one of the biggest flops in fantasy history. Tyler Algier still had 16 touches. He just didn't do much with it this week, so he's still getting the load. Um, so yeah, I don't. It's gonna be scary to roll with him, but he's doing what he needs to do. He just
Yeah,
didn't get the hole this week. He was stellar last week.
yeah, it's going to be kind of a touchdown dependent kind of player. All
I
right,
ain't
so
heard
let's switch over to the Rams here. We got two players. We got Kyron Williams, who doesn't seem to have a lot of yards, but seems to get 2 touchdowns every week, which is not something you can really rely on. And evidently, Cam Akers is now being traded again. I'm not sure where this comes
I've seen
from.
this movie before. Did we watch this movie last year? Is it 2000?
Yeah, I mean, I had
Okay.
no idea. I mean, I ended up leaving Cam Akers on one of my rosters because I
Oh,
had
it
no idea.
came late. It
Yeah,
came really.
because I was gone early for my daughter had a soccer game, so I was gone early. I didn't find out till late. I was like, "What is going on?" So, what's your trust level for Kyron Williams if he's going to get all the work in LA?
Till November, I'm going to play him. And then in November, when they change their mind and they don't trade Cam Akers and he runs for 100 yards a game, then I'll worry about Kyron. I mean, they even set Zach Evans. Apparently, he's Garbo. You can drop him now to keep Kyron Williams. Like it's the weird. And even like last year, we knew that Cam and McVay were at odds. This year, Cam, when this happened, I saw like 2 minutes before, and I'm running upstairs to change my Fantasy Pros rankings to drop him and then put Williams up a little higher. I saw some things like Cam Akers. He doesn't know why. Like it's an anomaly to him. Like he's like there was no. It was a weird thing. So the answer to your question is you gotta. I mean, he's scoring touchdowns. He's getting touches. Touches are king.
Yep, so touchdowns. But as soon as he doesn't drop those 2 touchdowns a game, I mean, you're gonna be very upset with him. But yeah, like I say, it's come and go. And then switching over to the wide receiver, we got Puka Nacua, who's literally starting out as one of the greatest receivers ever in his first 2 games.
Jerry Rice. He's Jerry Rice.
Oh, I mean, evidently the way he's playing, had 14 catches for 130 yards. I mean, if Cooper Kupp remains to stay out, this guy's going to get peppered with targets. I mean, eventually they might move their defensive rotation over. It might hurt him a little
And
bit,
it's
but
2-2.
he feels pretty safe right now, right?
I have yet to start Puka in a team, and I love Puka. A guy was heckling me. Scott was heckling me about it. I was like, it was the 49ers. There's no way. I thought Puka was going to be fine after this week. I did not see 20 targets for Puka. I mean, Tutu had 9 targets, 10 targets for Williams. I mean, they're 7 for Higby. Like, we're what? I didn't see this coming, and I'm a Puka lover. Like Puka, I already went and set my lineup in one of our leagues where I could, just so I could say Puka's in my lineup. So he'll get 5 catches. But I mean, realistically, let's look at real life. He's not going to get 15 targets. If we can get what Tutu Atwell's line, 7 for 77 out of Puka the rest of the year, he is with the way he started, he'll end a high end wide receiver too.
No,
And
absolutely.
if he does what
Looks
he's doing
good.
this week, oh my goodness, sky's the
Yeah,
limit.
absolutely. So I'm gonna go with I got a bounce back player of the week here. I'm gonna go with T. Higgins after posting a stat line of
Somebody has to on that
0
team.
last week. You know, the 89 yards and 2 touchdowns. I guess the offense looked better, but the one thing that didn't look better was Jamar Chase still struggling. This is like people's number 2 consensus wide receiver here, not looking like it at all. Joe Burrow is making all that money. Or what's your worry level?
What can we say? Joe Burrow doesn't look. Joe Burrow
Yeah, yeah,
only
yeah, yeah.
222 yards, a QBR of 61. Um, T. Higgins just got the touch. He had 12 targets. I mean, Jamar Chase had 8 targets, this is like bizarro world. I don't understand what's going on. This explains why my best team in the world that I've ever had is Luke going to be 0-2 because Jamar Chase doesn't play football anymore. I mean, Joe Mixon had more receiving yards than Jamar Chase, and Joe Mixon's not a pass catching running. I can't. I hope something comes. I hope he's hurt. I really do. Like it's just so weird because he preseason had moved ahead. Like I was on the belief that he is a better long term investment than Jefferson because he's going to be linked to Burrow versus Jefferson. He'll have Cousins for 2 years, and then who knows? I thought Trey Lance at the time because he get traded. I thought he'd get traded there, but you don't know. He could have somebody who gets terrible. I don't know what's wrong with Cincinnati. It's weird. Like they
Yeah.
all look terrible. I
Well,
mean, Baltimore barely beat them, but they look terrible.
since we're being so negative here, might as well just switch over to the pain segment of the show here. We'll go with quarterback. You mentioned Richardson earlier. He got the concussion. I don't know. Hopefully, it's not a permanent or not permanent, but serious
It's a permanent
concussion.
concussion.
Yeah, yeah, definitely permanent. He'll be back next week. So that the biggest pain of all is injury here. What is it? Do you have an update on that, or
I
was it
haven't
just?
seen any updates as of recording. I mean, Colts, holy cow, did Gardner look good though? Tell you
Well,
what,
that
he took the
isn't
reins and he should be a pleasure, man. Why, like, holy moly!
isn't
See, oh my God.
isn't this what Gardner Minshew does though? I mean, he just comes in and he has a good game, or a good stretch, and he's just like, well, maybe we should just keep him going. But if Richardson's healthy, ready to go, you gotta play him.
I mean,
Um,
Richardson's passing, it's still just, I'm worried he becomes like my buddy was texting me, hey, look, Anthony, I'm like 3 for 35 and 2 touchdowns. So he's a heck of an athlete. But as we're going to talk about in a second, I'm sure you can't, if you're going to throw for 56 yards, you're not going to be a quarterback or be effective as a quarterback in the NFL in a passing league. You can only you run for 2 touchdowns. Then the Texans are going to put up points. You're going to finally lose. Like
oh,
I'm worried long term
absolutely.
for him.
One of my biggest disappointments of the week. I don't have the stats because I don't like writing down all the negative stats for all the negative
I
players.
got you. I got you. I got all of it.
We know how bad they were. We don't need their stats to tell us. I'm gonna go down to Jacksonville. We got Trevor Lawrence. They were playing Kansas City. It was 17-9, so not really a good game.
Game of
Not a
the
lot of
week. What
points
happened?
scored anywhere. But this was a game we were looking towards Trevor Lawrence to make like sort of a statement here, with going up against Patrick Mahomes. It did not happen. Calvin Ridley therefore suffers. ETN gets hurt. He kind of suffers, but as a whole, the Jacksonville offense just seems to stumble in big spots, and it just doesn't look good for. I mean, I love Trevor Lawrence. I mean, he's one of my favorite players, but this kind of stuff can't happen in your third year, fourth
It,
year.
it's weird. Like that game, I was so excited, and it was so terrible. Like the Chiefs, they were tearing down the field here. I mean, Patrick Mahomes had 300 ugly yards, and he did not look great all the time. The game was just horrible. Jacksonville's defense is pretty good. I mean, to live 17 points, maybe Kansas City with Chris Jones back has a better defense, and he just disturbed him. I mean, Trevor Lawrence had a QBR of 17. It was that bad. It killed a bunch of my teams, Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley. I mean, Christian Kirk apparently is now his new favorite receiver. That's all I know.
Yeah, it's just disappointing. We keep waiting for Lawrence to take that next step, but every time we think he takes it, he just feels like he takes a step back.
Yeah.
So I got two running backs that had big games. I thought that had big games last week. So the first one, I'm gonna go with Josh Kelly here. With the news that Austin Eckler was out, I'm thinking Josh Kelly's going to be primed for a big role, but that wasn't the case. I think he only had like 39 yards rushing. I was expecting more. I'm not sure how long Austin Eckler was going out, but did you start Kelly anywhere with the news that
Oh,
Eckler was going to be out?
I DFS. I started Kelly everywhere. I was like, dude, I watched them play. They played my team last week. Joshua Kelly looked strong. That line looked strong. Apparently, Tennessee's defensive line is the greatest thing since sliced bread because they were terrible. That's got to be the biggest letdown of the week. Like, he probably killed more DFS lineups and waiver wire pickup guys who threw him in than probably any other player because he was probably the biggest pickup.
Another great big letdown. I know I understand there is injury involved here, but Brees Hall, I'm not really sure. He had come off the 127 yards last week. I know there's two big runs off, 10 carries, but I think he only had 27 yards rushing, something crazy, like four carries.
Nine.
Nine.
Yards rushing.
9 yards rush. That's even
Nine.
worse
Like,
than
I
what
have more fingers than he had rushing yards.
I thought you meant 9 carries.
No,
So
no,
that's even worse.
Four carries for 9 yards.
I know the Cowboys defense is good, but the fear with Brees Hall is these kind of games. I'm sure Dalvin Cook didn't have a good game as well.
He had 7 yards.
Oh, that's
same amount of carries. 7 yards.
That's just fantastic. With Zach Wilson as that offense, you're worried for Brees Hall or just for this season, or kind of got to be muted a little bit, right?
I think I'm just worried this season because next year when Carson Wentz is the starting quarterback for the New York Jets, or next week, or Aaron Rodgers claims he's coming for the playoffs. I don't think they're going to the playoffs. But dude, Zach Wilson, I'm standing by. I'm glad I didn't take the trade because he is that terrible. Like, the only reason Garrett Wilson had a good day is because he broke it. Like, it's actually, the video is showing up on my ESPN screen right now of him just burning. If you haven't seen that play, like, he catches it short and then just blows by the second day. It's beautiful. It made me cry because I'm against him. But if Garrett Wilson's doing anything this year, it's going to be just like he did today. 68 yards. He's got to get away because Zach Wilson is that terrible. I mean, far be it that his QBR was higher than Trevor Lawrence's because he threw a touchdown and 3 interceptions. So I don't know how this stuff goes, but but yeah, it's bad. Like, their defense is going to keep them in games, but Dallas, the 85 Bears defense they're rolling out. That's
evidently. Speaking of Dallas, CeeDee Lamb had a good game. He had 11 catches for 143 yards. So shout out to CeeDee Lamb. I mean, if that's the kind of offense that they're going to be running, CeeDee Lamb could be in for a great big year too. But we'll see how that goes. Mm-hmm. But if they keep blowing people out like that, there's just not going to be a lot of reason to pass the ball anyway. So I got one more running back that I'm kind of worried about. He's been a top running back pretty much his whole career. That's Josh Jacobs. Now, Las Vegas is absolutely a crap show at the moment. I mean, I think Devontae Adams got hurt as well. Jacoby Myers is already hurt. They got Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback. This could be the first year where Josh Jacobs isn't a top-tier running back, and it kind of hurts because he's trying to get paid too, right?
Yeah, it's funny. Josh Jacobs was a conversation. Pastor Jacques and I were talking. He was looking at a trade in our league that he sent. He got Josh Jacobs. I'm trying to pull up the trade real quick. We're talking about it, but he traded away David Montgomery and D-Hop, and he got Josh Jacobs and something else. Cooper, I think, who's hurt. But he still walked away with it. And it's just like, yeah, I thought he won the trade by a mile, and then this happens. I mean, Montgomery's hurt now, so we got to keep an eye on him. But I don't know because Josh Jacobs didn't he start slow last year and then just go crazy wild? I mean, is it the Jimmy Garoppolo effect? Is it the fact that there's one good player on offense right now effect? Is it because they're the Raiders and that's what they do?
I mean, yeah, but when you lose, I don't want to say you lose all that offense because there's really not a lot of offensive talent.
Derek Carr might have
He's
been better than we think.
he's about it. Yeah, like I said, I mean, I'm not sure Derek Carr was the issue here. I'm pretty sure Josh McDaniels was the issue. But yeah, so there's a couple negatives, couple pains, but rest of the show you can have.
Yeah.
Surefire waste of a touchdown.
Now it's time for my favorite segment. As my screen locks up, my brother will send me text every now and then. Hey, that was a surefire waste of a touchdown. I was like, yeah, it's kicking in. So I got a couple through here. We mentioned one earlier, 4-yard touchdown run for the Buffalo Bills. James Cook. Oh, cool. It's your boy Damian Harris. No, dude, isn't this guy like 72 years old? Look, Latavius Murray, 4-yard touchdown run. That is most definitely
A surefire waste of touchdown. Well, not many people actually start that guy. I've had to start that guy.
somebody who gambles very terribly and loses a lot. It'll stay in that game. You know, we had an 11-yard touchdown pass from Josh Allen. Stephon Diggs, babe. No. Oh, it's our boy Gabe Davis. He did have a good game, by the way. I benched him again. Whenever I bench him, I lose. Khalil Shakir, everybody, it was a darling of everybody. 11-yard touchdown pass, but I'm pretty sure he got dropped or he's not being started. So that makes him a.
Surefire waste of a touchdown. I'm guessing our boy Deontay Hardy wasn't targeted 98,000 times this week like he was last week.
I guess not. So we're gonna go to Detroit. I was gonna do Josh Reynolds, but I think he's a thing now. So I'll go pick him up if you haven't yet. If he's still there, he's. We'll see what happens when Jamie Williams comes back in 4 weeks. But he got 2 touchdowns. We had a 36-yard pass. It's gonna be Amon-Ra St. I hope he's not hurt too bad. Brown. No. Does anybody have Khalif Raymond on their team? Because if they do, they won. But if not, that is definitely a.
Surefire waste of a touchdown. Khalif Raymond.
Yeah, I heard that and I was like, did they say Josh Reynolds wrong because he scored a third touchdown? No, it's like wait a second, I heard that name in a long time. Let's go to the Green Bay Packers game. Jordan Love. The Packers are what the Packers are. You know, it's kind of an interesting year. He was not Jordan Love gangbusters last week, but he did throw some touchdowns. I'm not going to use. We have a series of rookies. There's the rookie that you thought would score some. That was Jalen Reed, scored some touchdowns. We thought that you might have started him if you had like deep rosters and had to, but a guy that was on a couple of my teams for about a day and a half, Dontavian Wicks with a 32-yard touchdown reception. No Romeo Dobbs. Dontavian Wicks. That is definitely. I think I got him on a taxi squad somewhere, but it is
surefire waste of a touchdown. Yeah, it's just that receiving core. You can't.
They're young.
You can trust Jordan Love, but you just can't trust any of the receivers. I mean, I can't start any of them.
If you're a dynasty guy, I would send them on there and see what comes out of the filter at the end. Like Christian Watson's been hurt all the time. Dobbs seems to be hurt, and maybe these youngsters this year, maybe they're what they thought Dobbs. I don't know. Let's go to Baltimore. They've got some amazing receivers. You know, they got Zay Flowers who killed it last week. They have Bateman who is supposed to step up. OBJ who apparently has an ankle injury. 17-yard pass. Not to any of them. Do you even know who scored this touchdown?
I have no idea.
Nelson Aguilar. The 17-yard touchdown from Lamar Jackson. Yeah, that's definitely a
surefire waste of a touchdown. I mean, I don't say I feel sorry for Lamar Jackson, but I mean, these receivers. I mean, this receiving core is insane.
At least Mark Andrews is healthy and he scored a touchdown. You know, that helps. That helps Lamar. They won. They beat the Bungles, if that says anything anymore. I got a twofer from Tennessee. We have a 4-yard pass from Ryan Tannehill. D-Hop's great. No, it's not D-Hop. Oh, maybe it's Henry out of the back. No, it's Chig. No, it's a name from DJ Does Past. Nick Westbrook Akine with a 4-yard. I saw someone start him in I think Wes's thing, in a 4-yard touchdown pass. But yeah, unless you're gambling and you only need a 1,000-yard receiver, that is definitely a
surefire waste of a touchdown. This guy just seems to pop up every now and then, just out of the blue. Like, hey man, congratulations on your NFL career, dude.
And staying in this game just because this is a funny one. 12-yard rushing touchdown. You think Derrick Henry. No, 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 no. Oh, Tajay Spears is getting some touch. No, no, no. How about Ryan Tannehill with a 12-yard touchdown rush? If you started him, it's because you're in a deep superflex and you have nothing else. But for the rest of the world, which there's apparently superflex isn't as popular as I thought it was. A lot of people do one quarterback these days. That would be probably close to a
Surefire ways of a touchdown. But it's hard. I
borderline.
mean, at any quarterback, you really because you think like most of them are going to be started at some point. It's hard for a quarterback to have a waste of a touchdown.
Yeah, just Tannehill is still playing for that team. They got to see what they got with the rookies.
Unless you get somebody like Malik Willis coming in and rushing for a touchdown, then you got a surefire waste of a touchdown.
I thought he might the way they looked. Okay, we got a 3 for last one from playing against your new favorite team here. We had a 5-yard rushing touchdown by the Denver Broncos. Yeah, Javonte Williams, but no. Oh, P. Ryan Spence, nope. Preseason darling, Jaleel McLaughlin, 5-yard touchdown run, and that was pretty much his day. But I think he had a couple other. But yeah, nobody started him, right? Because that's
a surefire waste of a touchdown. Yeah, I think that'd be a hard start.
So Russell Wilson threw some touchdown passes. They almost won if they had gotten the 2-point conversion. Earlier in the game, he had a 16-yard pass, and then later in the game, a 50-yard Hail Mary. To Jerry Jeudy coming back. No. Cortland Sutton in a resurgent year. No. Your boy Adam Troutman as a tight. No. Oh, Denzel Mims, who had a great day, by the way. No. I don't even know who this dude is. And we know guys. We look up these guys. Brandon Johnson. Who in the world is Brandon Johnson? Because he now, this week, closes out our segment with the most useless 2
surefire waste of touchdowns. It kind of makes you mad. These guys just pop up out of nowhere. Like, who is this guy? I should know these. I should know these things.
Yeah, so those are my wasted touchdowns I got for you today.
Well, I appreciate it because I'm glad none of those touchdowns. You usually throw a touchdown in there that is not a complete waste for me.
Tannehill was the closest.
There was none. They were all pretty wasteful. But.
Okay, JJ Wang, we're gonna get ready to. There's 2 more games after we've recorded. Y'all are hearing this after the Sunday night game. Well, 3 more games actually. We'll talk about them on the Thursday show when we do waivers. You got questions? Hit us up. But give us some wisdom as we go into week 3.
Yeah, I'm gonna do words of wisdom. I'm gonna switch over to the college game. I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago with Deion Sanders and his Colorado Buffaloes had an amazing comeback last week. Just make sure you keep Shador Sanders in your fantasy QB1 next year because, I mean, the kid is looking like a Heisman Trophy winner. And with that name, how is he not drafted into the NFL, right? So as always, trust yourself and trust the process.